Well, hello there and welcome to another episode of Back to the Clubs with me, Major K. I'm a DJ, producer and record label boss, and in this series I'm talking to other DJs about their club experiences. What was their best DJ set in a club? Who do they look up to? And how much is the doggy in the window? Ruff, ruff, ruff. Those are but a few of the questions I'm asking every week, and the answers are often surprising. In previous episodes, we had Insulate, DJ Licious, Vanilla Ace and JD as a guest, amongst others. Today, one of the driving forces behind Underground Collective, and one half of the DJ duo SHUMBO JEBANG, Mancunian Sean Comiskey. But first, be sure to subscribe to Back to the Clubs in your podcast app. Give the show a raving rating too, it helps more people find the podcast. Check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/officialmajork. Get bonus content by subscribing and supporting. Bonus content like an extra segment with our guest of today about the status of club life in the UK. Do check my 2 weekly mix podcast Flash Forward Presents with Major K in your podcast app as well, and support Ukraine by buying merchandise in my online dance music merch store, flashinghotshop.com. And now, Sean Comiskey. He does a really good job co-running Underground Collective, a group of like-minded DJs and producers from all over the world, with, for instance, a non-stop online radio station. Check it out on undergroundcollective.co.uk. Sean's from Manchester, but has a soft spot for Berlin as one of the club capitals of the world. And he oozes a passion for music. That was more than clear during our long chat. Enjoy the show. Here we go.
Back to the Clubs with Major K.
Yeah, another episode of Back to the Clubs, this time with Sean of SHUMBO JEBANG. Hi Sean, how are you doing?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Looking forward to play DJ sets around town, as it were. I guess you are doing the same?
Yeah, so we've got a couple of things lined up. Some irons in the fire with Underground Collective. Doing a lot of stuff with the radio at the minute, so just taking on new DJs onto the radio station, which is quite cool. But yeah, it's I don't know, I've got many gigs in coming up, to be honest. It's more looking after the radio station and the label at the minute. So
yeah, Underground Collective, for people who don't know what that is, can you explain what you guys are doing? Because a collective, more than one guy, of course.
It is, yeah. So we're about must be in the mid-60s, so about 60 DJs kind of based all over the world. We started out as an online radio station. We're now an online radio station, a record label, well, 2 record labels, and we've started putting a few events on. So we've booked Express 2, we booked Bushwhacker, booked Deanie, booked Dawley, so some decent-ish names. But yeah, we're kind of venue hopping at the minute. We're trying to find the right venue for us. But yeah, it's kind of the triangle of radio, label, and events is kind of what the brand's about, and yeah, it's supporting emerging artists, helping them get on their production journey, giving them a radio show, getting them plenty of exposure on Mixcloud. So our Mixcloud channel is about 14,000 listens a month. The radio's about 4,000 a month, give or take. So yeah, it's growing nicely, to be honest.
Yeah. Did you expect that when you started off with the radio station, that you would end up with 2 record labels and all those people from all those countries joining you?
I don't know. It's really weird because it grew out of, so the 5 guys who started it. We were all on one station together that folded really quickly, and it was kind of a knee-jerk reaction to say, well, why don't we just do something for ourselves? And it originally was just a radio station, an online radio station, and that's kind of just grown from there. We're funded by members as well, so we have a small subscription model. We're not for profit. Kind of everything gets pushed back into the label. As you know, it's really expensive to run a label in 2022.
Sure thing, yeah.
Yeah, there's not much money to be made out of digital music. So yeah, everything's pushed back into that way via marketing or, putting events on, because we kind of use the radio income to subsidise events as well. So Yeah, it's kind of growing. It is growing nicely, and fingers crossed it continues on the same kind of trajectory over the next couple of years. So.
Yeah, you mentioned that you were auditioning new DJs for the time slots that are available. What do they need to have to, be able to apply, or what qualities do they need to have?
The biggest one for us is being part of the community. Obviously, there's a skill level and a kind of a bar that we expect from a skill perspective as a DJ. Musically, we're kind of the whole house and techno spectrum, so everything from like kind of handbaggy disco, kind of nice easy listening stuff, right through to face melting techno. So we kind of go across the whole spectrum. So from a sound perspective, it's quite wide. I say we aspire to find a certain skill level, but the best thing about the collective, and you're obviously a member, Kevin, so you'll know this, is the support from each other, and and that's I think that as a key attribute is, I suppose it's quite egoless. It's quite I think it's quite like it's an online community. We all support each other. We all big each other up. We all give each other feedback. But it's done without any ego. There's no edge to any of it. It's all done like on a friendly basis. And we've met up with quite a few of the DJs, and fingers crossed, AD Ego's ahead this year because it was. We had a gig. We had a gig penciled in for last year, and then the Dutch government kind of put a load of restrictions in place, which meant it wasn't feasible for us. But we're going to roll that to next year and get to meet loads of the guys in person finally after a couple of years of like having online relationships with them. So
yeah, and it's all about reaching out, making that connection, and supporting each other, and making good things happen for each other as well.
Yeah, and that's it, and that's the key ethos of it, I think, more than anything. I mean, obviously, quite a lot of people play on different stations, and people leave stations for other stations, and that's the kind of feedback we get off a lot of the guys, is that the feeling of being part of an underground collective is different to being part of other underground, other digital stations, because it sounds like there's, can get quite bitchy, like back, infighting and backstabbing and stuff like that, and it just doesn't happen with us. And finding those people that fit that mold is more difficult than finding a DJ that's good enough to play in the station, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and is that something that you think is lacking? Well, you said at other stations, for instance, or perhaps there's more like a real DJ ego culture. But I think that when you see perhaps bigger labels or whatever, that it's really it's a tough world. Music world is a tough world. That's lacking a little bit. That when people would support each other more, that more can happen as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the power we have as a group is we can use the power of the collective to elevate people. And that's I suppose that's kind of the nuts and bolts of what we're about, is being in a collective is stronger and more powerful than trying to go on your own. I think that's kind of at the heart of what we're about as a collective, as a brand, and I mean, it's a tough world, like you said, and every man and his dog's a DJ now, because it costs you 80 quid to be a DJ. Where it was when I started, it was like you've got to have a couple of grand to throw behind some decks, and then you've got to be willing to spend €100 a month on records. Now that's all gone. So I think the entry into the DJ world it's much more accessible. But on the flip side of that, you get people entering the DJ realm who probably have stylistic ambitions or status ambitions, whereas when I started DJing, it was all about, I want to just play music to people.
Yeah,
I want to just
music.
Yeah, and I think with the Instagram world we live in, people want to just take pictures of themselves doing things, don't they? Pictures for the gram.
True. Still, even we need to do that, of course, because it's like one of the outlets. But the main thing is that you have something to say to the audience, and that it's not an empty shell.
Yeah, of course.
So Shumbo Jebang, your DJ duo, did
We
you know
are.
each other before you formed that duo?
Yeah, so we met in
So, and
two.
we is, yeah.
Mr. Longy Man himself, Mr. Simon. He's called Longy Man because he's 6'5". So we met in 2002, I think. He was studying in Manchester at university, and he started. He was. I don't know if you have TGI Fridays in mainland Europe, do you, as a brand?
No, I don't think so.
No. Well, it's like an American diner brand, and he moved from Birmingham to Manchester to study, and he was actually working in a branch in Birmingham and moved, so he kind of kept his job but just swapped venues. And I was working in the kitchen. We met each other that way, like 20 years ago. If someone else was a DJ, you kind of had that instant connection with them because you had something to talk about. About mixers and cartridges and effects units and stuff like that. And it was quite a rare thing to do. So I think you instantly had a connection with someone when you found out they were DJing. Became friendly through that. He moved back to Birmingham in about 2005 or 6, and we kept friendly obviously, and we started going on holidays together. So we started doing Ibiza together, and then started doing Ibiza in the summer and Berlin in the winter. We actually put on a night in Manchester in 2004, and it was called Jumbo Shebang. So the other way, so we just swapped the letters. So Jumbo Shebang just means like big party,
Right. Yeah.
And when we reformed, we actually went to Berlin. It must have been 2016, I think. 2016, and we said, look, we've got to get back together and do something because we're kind of going nowhere. We kind of spur each other on as well. We kind of keep each other interested and share tracks and stuff like that. So we decided to form as a duo again, and then we just kind of swapped some of the letters around to give our name as Shumbo Jebang instead of Jumbo Shebang. So
Yeah. And
we're not that inventive, to be honest. So
yeah, but sometimes the most uninventive DJ names are the best,
Well, yeah, and it's completely unique as well. So, and that helps. And
Yeah.
in a world like as I said, in a world where you're never more than 6 feet away from another DJ, having a unique name is really important,
Well, yeah, kind of is, yeah. And I must say that you guys are really great friends as well, right?
Yeah, we have. We've known each other for 20 years.
Yeah.
He was a groomsman at my wedding. I was a groomsman at his wedding. Kind of grown up. And both got families now. So, yeah, even though he lives 90 miles away, we're still still best mates. So
Cool. Was he one of the people that you went clubbing with first, or was that even earlier?
Well, I was actually just kind of making some notes about talking to you, and my kind of clubbing experience started before I was 18. So my dad's side are from Ireland, and in Ireland they have a really big under-18s rave culture.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they put on like specific raves for teenagers. So I remember going over. So I used to go over every summer for our 6 weeks holidays in the UK. So I used to go over and like live there for 6 weeks. Try my best to pull Irish girls, which never went down well as a 14-year-old. But yeah, so me and my cousins started going to under-18s raves, and it was kind of like 98, 99. So like it was a big trance sound at the time. We started going to a place called the Bailey in Redcastle in County Donegal, County Donegal is just over the border into the Republic, so it's the biggest city is Derry, which is obviously only about 20 minutes drive away. So you used to get loads of lads from Derry and loads of girls from Derry going there. Then all the people from Donegal and Letterkenny would go as well. So yeah, you'd probably get about 500 or 600 teenagers in a in an old castle in a rave in the summer. So
That must have been really impressive when you were experiencing that for the first time. That must have blown you away. No, location, people, all that.
Yeah, and I found myself watching the DJ at like 14, 15, thinking, that's a cool job. I'd love to do that. And then the tracks, I've kind of made some notes about the tracks. So it was like Agnelli and Nelson and Paul Van Dyke and people like that, like big old trance tunes.
Yeah.
So and that kind of it's so hypnotic, that sound. It kind of draws you in straight away. I think even if you've never heard electronic music before, trance is a really easy gateway into getting into it, because it's obviously really euphoric, loads of breakdowns, vocals, so it's quite accessible, isn't it? So
yeah,
that's what kind of hooked me in to electronic music. So
did you start to DJ immediately after that first gig, or that you saw, or?
So I started. So I'm a trained chef, but I'm a chef by trade. So I went to college, and I obviously took a part-time job, and that was when I bought my first turntables. I actually didn't realise you needed two of the same ones, and I didn't really understand about pitch control. So I managed just to buy like odd turntables. One of them had a pitch control, one of them didn't. I just wanted to play records. I just wanted to put a piece of vinyl on a turntable and actually play a record.
Yeah.
So and then it was obviously worked it hard and bought myself my first kind of matching set, which I managed to go straight for direct drives. I managed to bypass the belt driving. So I bought myself a set of Newmarks, and that was it. I was spending 20 quid a week as a 17, 18-year-old on records. And because I was at college training to be a chef, I had Mondays off, so I used to go into Manchester every Monday morning, and all the new releases were out. It was great. And there was nobody around, so I didn't have to queue for a turntable at all. It was like, pick up 20 records and listen to them all back to back if you want, because no one else wanted to go. And then all my friends who worked Monday to Friday, they would go record shopping on a Saturday, and they'd be like, I got like 2 minutes to listen to 10 tracks. I'm like, well, I had half an hour.
Yeah, that's kind of a luxury to be able to listen to those tracks really intensively and for a long time before deciding to buy them.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, that's so I kind of went from there. Kind of like I say, my gateway was trance, and then I almost kind of instantly fell into like a soulful, funky house kind of sound, probably around 2001, 2002, early subliminal stuff. So early Eric Murillo, that kind of Jose Nunez, Harry Romero, so quite a Latin influence as well. Right. And that was kind of the first kind of records I was buying.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So that was what you were playing at your first gig in a club as well? That kind of stuff? Yeah,
so my first gig was probably 2000 and it was when I was working at Fridays, 2002. And the first record I ever played out was Shakedown at Night on Defected.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I vividly remembered like putting the tone arm onto the record and like, no one can see this, but my hands like bobbing around trying to find.
Yeah.
I was that nervous. But yeah, that's the first record I ever played out to anyone was Shakedown at Night, and I absolutely love that track. It's awesome still.
Yeah, it's still awesome. Yeah, absolutely. And do you remember in what club that was, or was it a regular party? Or
it was a staff party for TGI Fridays. So it was.
Oh yeah, okay.
So I think there was 3 in Manchester, and what they would do is they'd close a whole store and get staff from the other store to work in there, so the actual restaurant didn't shut, but everyone who worked in that restaurant would go out and have a party. So it was one of them. So there's probably about 60, 70 people there.
Yeah,
really, really nervous putting that tone on.
How was the reaction?
It's good. Yeah, it's good. They'd hired someone to do it to DJ, and me and Simon were like, well, we can DJ. And they said, well, the guy we've hired, he can play for an hour, and then you guys can finish up and play for an hour afterwards. But it was, it's tough because obviously, because it was a staff party, it wasn't exactly everyone there for house music. There's like rock fans and, so. And
so your first proper club gig, when was that and where was that?
So we went on to, I think it wasn't long after that, we started putting on our own night of Jumbo Shebang, which is actually at Joshua Brooks in Manchester, which is a wicked little club. It's been remodelled in the last. It's probably remodelled over the pandemic, and they put in like an amazing. They kind of changed the layout a little bit, and they put in a wicked sound system. So it's a really well respected club. But when we played 2004, I think it was, we started doing it. It was a Thursday night because that's the only night we could get. It was a really odd layout. I mean, the sound system was all right. The DJ booth was kind of hidden away and tucked away. But we started, so I think 4 of us put on Jumbo Shebang, and we kind of played like everything from like funky house to kind of tech house, kind of edging on techno and stuff like that. So that was good. We kind of did it for probably 6 months, maybe once a month for 6 months, and then Simon kind of moved back to Birmingham, and we kind of like disbanded it, if you like. And then not long after that, I got a residency in a bar in Manchester called, oh God, what was the bar called? Oh, the names escape me. Anyway, I got residency in a bar and playing like bar-friendly house music, which I really enjoyed. I mean, I had some really good nights. Sometimes we get. I remember playing one night when Ian Brown had played at the GMEX, which was like across the road.
Right.
So I remember playing like the Uncle remix of FEAR and stuff like that, and the absolute bar going mental because I dropped an Ian Brown tune. But I suppose it's playing in a bar is a really good apprenticeship of reading people.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So you kind of realise that people had come in from Ian Brown. I thought, right, if I drop FEAR now, the Uncle remix, it's going to go off, and it like did. And then once you've got them like in the palm of your hand with something like that, you can think, right, well, I've got any other Uncle tracks, so what else can I play? It's got kind of a Manchester kind of vibe, and you like play some Happy Mondays edits and stuff like that, and like it's a really good apprenticeship, definitely.
Yeah, and especially if you are doing that regularly, it's a good practice for your technique, for your song choice. It's good for everything, really. Yeah,
so that was a Friday. So I played every Friday night for about 4 or 5 years in there.
Yeah.
I think as an apprenticeship of reading people, and that's what's really overlooked in the modern day DJing is looking around, and because everyone's obviously focused on a screen. You know, if you're a digital DJ or even if you're playing on CDJs, you still look at. I think for you look at the screen a lot more because there's information being fed back to you as a DJ. But when you've got 2 turntables and a mixer, it gives you more opportunity to scan the room and read people and you know, spot some heads nodding over there and thinking, well, that's quite a disco-y track, and if they're liking that, maybe I'll play this. And I think as an apprenticeship to really hone in your sound and hone in your ability to read the room, I think it's invaluable.
Yeah. Do you still play vinyl?
Yeah, well, kind of. I've got about 2,000 12-inch records in the garage. So my setup at home is in the garage. I'm lucky to have a space where I can set my decks up and they stay up all the time. A lot of the stuff I bought I would never play out again. The tastes have changed. It's gone way away from that kind of funky sound of the early 2000s. There's still some great tracks there that I've bought and would still play now. But I've gone on to DVS, which is kind of a middle ground between the two. So it's playing digital but in a vinyl environment. And for me, it's the perfect kind of happy medium of the two. Because just having something to touch and to spin and to tweak and to drag your finger back on and rock over the beat. It's just all that kind of touching has gone from digital DJing, and I really miss it. I miss it so much. And I've only been doing it since January. I've got an XZ at home, and I bought the DVS license. I bought some turntables a couple of years ago and was just playing odd tracks, and I thought I'm not getting the best out of this. And the best way, and I really like doing it, and I really like loading, like putting records on and feeling the sleeves and all the tactile things about being a DJ. And for me, it's just the perfect kind of middle ground of the two. Yeah. So I'm still playing the tunes I really want to play, but I'm playing them on a piece of vinyl, and I'm touching it, and I'm rocking the beats, and I'm tweaking the spindle to speed things up. Yeah. And it's the best. It's so good. I enjoy it so much.
Yeah, so when you go perform at the club, that's something that they need to have there, that setup is there, or do you take your own stuff with you?
I probably would just revert to digital DJing, I think. Probably just play off sticks, yeah.
Okay.
The trouble is I've got, a lot of the digital DJs who take DVS with them, they take their own sound card around, whereas mine's built into the XZ, so it's nice to have, and I think if it was when I'm in that kind of environment, I kind of just adapt to what's there, really, Yeah. If there's turntables there, then great. If there's not turntables there, it's not the end of the world, No. I just like to have 3 channels. That's more than anything.
Okay. What does a good club need to have for you, apart from those 3 channels?
As little as possible.
Really?
DJ booth, PA, bar. That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
Maybe
It's all about the music, baby.
Kind of a couple of moving heads. That'd be it. You know.
Yeah.
My favourite places are those dirty, kind of sweat dripping off the walls, raw brick, raw steel, and just a really good sound system. I'm not into big flashy VIP areas and stuff like that. It's not what it's about for me at all. And I struggled when I went to start going to Ibiza because I kind of cut my teeth at Sankey's in Manchester, which is again proper underground, raw brick, raw steel, amazing sound system. And then I went to Ibiza and I'm like, what's this massive area over here where people are sat down drinking champagne? Like, what are you doing? Well, you're not on the dance floor. For me, it was like a real head fuck, to get my head round.
Yeah. Is that something that's been evolving too much in that direction? That there needs to be more than just the DJ and the records and good sound system and some moving heads, as you say.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes in waves, doesn't it? I think it's circular, that kind of super club environment. I think it kind of peaks and then everyone gets a bit fed up with it and fed up with VIP areas and bottles of champagne, and it kind of goes back into being raw and grimy and underground and sweat dripping off the walls and people kind of really like proper hedonistic, losing it on the dance floor. I think it just evolves, and I think it's kind of been driven by Instagram this time and social media, that kind of look at me where I'm doing kind of attitude, and not just going to enjoy yourself and kind of lose yourself. And for me, that kind of, when we first started going to Berlin 8 years ago, that was like it was really reaffirming that those kind of worlds still exist. Those kind of clubs still exist. It wasn't about being big and shiny and posh and VIP and cocktails. Yeah. It was like no phones on the dance floor. It's €3 for a beer, and no one's taking any pictures, and it's like just there for the music. And that was really reaffirming. I think that's what kind of drove me and Simon to start playing together again, in the kind of the affirmation of that those places exist and those are the kind of places we'd aspire to play to.
Yeah. What clubs were those in Berlin?
So I really love Renate. Really love I love Watergate, but I actually prefer the water floor to the main floor because the water floor is really intimate, and it's really simple as well. And I love the accessibility of the DJs. I remember the first time we went there in 2014. We were on the water floor, and one of the residents, Marco Riesman, was playing. And you can walk behind the DJ booth. You can lean over and look at the CDJs. And for me, it was like, this is amazing. Because in your super club, your DJ's on a balcony and they're like 300 feet away, to go into standing next to him as he's mixing his tracks. And for me, it was such a revelation to think, this is what it's about. It's about the DJ connecting with the dance floor and being close to the crowd, and the crowd being on top of him. And like I said before, about reading the room and reading people's energy. You can't do that when you're on a balcony 300 feet away. You have to feel that energy off the floor to let that guide you where you're going to take the set. It's obviously you want to guide it a certain way yourself, but you should be flexible enough to read. If you play a track with a nice little acid line, and everyone goes, everyone loves it, and you think, right, that's what they're into. I'll kind of go down that little avenue for a while, and that, I think you've got to be close to the crowd to do that. I don't think you can do that in a super club environment.
Yeah. Is there a club gig by a DJ that you saw that you think, well, this really blew my socks off, this is really amazing, this is perhaps who I aspire to be, but yeah, so good, so brilliant?
Yeah, so I kind of wrote down three DJs, and one is from my kind of early kind of entry, my early Sankey's days, so early 2000, and it kind of went a bit west with his career, and unfortunately he ended up with a lot of allegations. So early 2000s, I loved Eric Murillo. For me, it was an unreal DJ. He was the one who, I remember seeing him in 2003, and he was on CDJs. I didn't really know what they were, and he was looping things and filtering things and just enjoying himself in the booth so much. And me and Simon talk about this all the time, but I can't stand a DJ that's just stood there with a deadpan face and like you've got the best job in the world, and you
Exactly,
you don't even look like you're enjoying yourself. And I've really struggled. And he was obviously the opposite, complete showman, enjoying himself, getting on the microphone, asking if everyone's got any weed and stuff like that in the room. And,
Did he now?
yeah, hanging ice buckets off the roof, saying we're going to collect some sweat and stuff like that. Like that's, love that. It was great. Obviously, you have to kind of divorce the art from the artist sometimes, and obviously he did a lot of bad things. And
apparently the things that came out at the end of his career and his life. Were kind of shocking, I must say. Kind of shocking.
Yeah. But then I think you can always kind of. I mean, it's just happened with another DJ in England called Tim Westwood, who's a hip hop DJ, and he's let those allegations come out about him. So. Oh really? Yeah. So it's not completely unexpected when it happens. So yeah, but I loved his early stuff. He was great. When we went to Ibiza to see him and this is where I first saw VIP areas. Went to Pasha to see, the Subliminal night there, and it's like, this is so. How can you enjoy playing in both places? You play at Sankey's, which is a little sweatbox, with raw brick, and then you're playing at Pasha, which is like huge, 60 times the size, and half the people aren't listening to you. I really struggled to find out to understand why I liked them so much, Mm-hmm. But so that was my early kind of days, and then. Two of the DJs that I aspire to, and I kind of liked Eric Murillo because his technical ability, because he was a really good technical DJ. These loops and using the effects and filtering, and he was amazing at that. But the other two DJs I really admire are Papa Sven Veith, and Dixon. And the reason I like them so much is their ability to kind of meander between genres. They do it so effortlessly, and for me, that's one of the absolute skill, and that's one thing that all these digital DJs, all these new DJs into the world of DJing, they can't do that. They haven't got that experience and the ability to kind of drift from like really heavy techno to 20 minutes later having this beautiful floaty track with beautiful vocals in it and big breakdowns. It's like those two guys can do it so well, and they do it so effortlessly. And that's what I really, really love about both of them,
Yeah. Have they ever seen you play?
No, don't think so. I'd love to. We've talked about booking Dixon from the Crown Collective, and I think we'd obviously need a little lottery win or something to book him.
How nervous would you be when those guys would show up at the gig that you play?
Oh, God, yeah. I wouldn't think about it, to be honest. Although I don't suffer too bad. I mean, Simon suffers terribly with nerves pre-gigs. I don't really. I'm obviously nervous, but once again, I mean, when we booked Express 2, me and Simon played the set before them, and I look round as there's, Rocky from Express 2 watching you mixing, and you're like, that is quite... And it just, for 5 or 6 seconds, you're like, oh shit, there's an absolute legend of the scene stood over my shoulder watching me mix this track in, and it is a little bit daunting, but then once you get the track in, it's fine. It's kind of like, and then you turn around and he's nodding his head and you're thinking, I did all right there. I don't know what it'd be like with Dixon or Sven Veith stood over my shoulder, to be honest. So.
No. Well, who knows? Might still happen. Happen. Is there one gig of yours that you remember, of you guys, of course, SHUMBO JEBANG wise, that you thought, well, yeah, we nailed it that time?
I'm trying to think. We played in the bar a few times, and I think if you can get a bar rocking where people aren't going there specifically to dance, if you can get a bar rocking, then I think you've done something really, really good. It's easy. I think it's much easier to get a dance floor moving where people are going to dance. If you can get people who are going to drink to have an amazing time and have a dance in a bar environment, I think that's much harder skill, to be honest. And that happened a few times when we played back to back in the bar. The night when Ian Brown played, it's like we had everyone up dancing for like 2 hours after that, and he was like, well, they were just at a gig and now they're coming dancing in a bar on tables, and it kind of affirms why you do it. It's like I do it because I love exposing people to music they've not heard before, or music they didn't know they liked, or they didn't know they would dance to. You know, that's one of the real skills of being a DJ.
Yeah. Apart from the bar where you've played, I think most often, is there another place, another club that you've been to the most in your life? For instance, as a DJ, but as just a party goer, that's a possibility as well.
Yeah, I mean, so mid 2000s, me and the Mrs. and Simon, as three because he was single, we kind of frequented Sankey's probably every other week, maybe once a month, and it had such a special vibe in that kind of time. So it kind of split into two nights. So we had tribal sessions on a Friday, which was a little bit tougher, a little bit darker, kind of more techno focused, but then obviously with a big tribal kind of sound. And they had a guy called Greg Vickers who was their Friday night resident. But then they'd play, you know, like Jeff Mills would play, and Dave Clark, and like all the big hitters that time would play. And then we used to go on a Saturday, which was called Red Light, and the resident was called a guy called Christgo, and that's the night when, you know, Subliminal would have a night every 3 months, and Underwater would have a night, and Defected would have a night, and we saw some amazing names there. People like Daft Punk played there and stuff like that. So it was kind of a real mecca for underground music, and it was really special. It wasn't the biggest club in the world. It only held about 800, but it had just like I say, amazing sound system, a bar, and some lights. You know, and what made it was the people that went there. Yeah.
Would you consider it to be the best club in the world, or
it was? I mean, it closed in 2017, but it won best nightclub in the world in 2010. But they remodeled it in 2006. And it was never the same. They kind of changed the layout and they moved the DJ booth. It's like you kind of just destroyed that little kind of. It was really weird because it was kind of a long, narrow kind of club with a kind of a bulbous end where the DJ booth was. So you get most people in that kind of area, and it felt real. So that area probably held about 300 or 400. I mean, the club held 800 in total, but that kind of area, it was just like a really intense energy of people, you know, crammed into that top end where they could be, and you could get really close to the DJ. And they were right on top of the DJ booth. So
yeah. And so when they changed it up, more people could see the DJ, but perhaps the atmosphere was gone?
Changed the atmosphere completely. So they moved it to being like a long, narrow kind of club with a big bulbous end instead of the DJ booth being in that end. It really changed it dramatically, and it kind of lost its specialness. I think the clientele kind of changed a little bit, and this is what 2006. And they kind of put in big LED lights like in Watergate, and it was like, it just was never the same. And I'm not the first person to say that. You know, I'm in forums and Facebook groups with people, and it's like, it was so special when they did it, and it was kind of the only club in Manchester at the time that was playing, you know, really good underground house and techno. So, I have really fond memories of going there. You know.
Yeah. And as for the title, Best Club of the World or Best Club in the World 2022, which one would you consider?
I love Renate. Renate is such a special club. It's just on the Spree. It's an old East Berlin apartment block, and it's over 4 floors, I think, 3 or 4 floors. And what they've done is they've just kind of knocked some walls down, and there's people's furniture in there from the 70s and stuff like that, and it's little narrow corridors, little rooms off here and there, and it's just it feels like a house party. That's why it's so good. You know, the main room probably holds about 100 people. I mean, the whole club probably holds about 300 or 400, but it's like a little warren. There's loads of little rooms off everywhere, and it's an unreal place. Unreal. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Berlin has loads of those kind of places where you just feel the history for one, but they just try to make do with whatever's left from like 60 years ago and give it a new destination, new vibe, and really do great parties over there.
Yeah, I mean, so their obviously techno scene exploded after the fall of the Berlin Wall, and there's swathes of East Berlin which were just derelict, and really central. Obviously, they were just to the side of the wall. So places like Tresor and they were illegal parties for years and years and years. That are just the Berghain was an illegal party, and they just took over these empty spaces and repurposed them as clubs. And it took, I think it was like Tresor was only like 2006 or something like it went legit. Like everything pre then was just illegal. It's like an illegal rave, and it's just so pure that that kind of I think that the kind of elite the law breaking element of it kind of adds to it, Yeah. And it happened in the UK as well. You think about the M25 raves, in the early 90s. They had an energy that an illegal event has an energy that a legal event can never capture.
Yeah, because you're at something special and kind of dangerous, because if the coppers come, is there a club that you really want to play at that you haven't played at before?
Yeah, well,
top of your bucket list. That's what I'm asking.
Waterfloor in Watergate, definitely. I'd rather play the Waterfloor than the main room, definitely. It's just got some kind of special kind of after hours kind of feel about it. And the first time we went in 2014, we kind of got into the club at 2, and we were like, oh, it's pretty quiet, and left at 6. And as we were leaving, there was kind of like 50 people coming into the club, and like, going, 6 in the morning, what are they doing? And then the year after we went, we obviously stayed in a few bars like later, and kind of got into Watergate at like 5, and like, we're the people who were arriving when we were leaving last time. And it has that really kind of real special kind of after hours feeling. I think we left probably about 9:45 in the morning the second year, whereas we left at like 5:45 the year before. But yeah, I just love the kind of open-endedness of German parties. I think that they're so good at it. They're, even on a Sunday night, you can go to Hoppy Toast and dance till like 5 in the morning on a Monday morning, and like people just, it's completely normal to them. It's like, yeah, there's no end.
Yeah.
It just when people go home, we'll stop playing music.
Yeah, I gather that that's not the case where you live then.
No, so when we had Dawley on at Staging Radio, it was like 10 to 4, and he's like, well, what time do you finish? Well, it says 4, but just play until you get kicked off. A minute to 4, the bouncer was stood next to him saying, right, you got 1 minute. I'm like, for fuck's sake, come on.
Oh, man.
The dance floor was absolutely cooking as well. It's like, come on, just stay open. And it's like, nope. And then it was like, as soon as it hit 4 o'clock, he was like, right, stop that. I was like, what? Yeah, it's frustrating.
And so that's not because it's the law, it's because the clubs don't dare to or don't want to open any further? Or?
Some of it's licensed. So in the UK we have, if you've got a music venue, you get a license to a certain time. Most of the clubs are like till 4, they kind of close. There are later licenses, and most venues have maybe 6 or 7 times a year they can apply for a later license. So they can apply, say, to the council, 3 weeks ahead, a month ahead, saying we're going to open until 5 on this date. Can we use one of our banked kind of late licenses? So that happens. But yeah, it's just a bit organised. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
kind of,
and then it does away with the fun of the thing.
Yeah, and the spontaneity as well.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
And that's the other thing in the UK with the entry. I mean, look at the warehouse ticket prices for the warehouse project. You'd like best part of €40 to get in. It's like you're not doing any club hopping at that price. You go in there,
no, to stay there.
Yeah, and that's, you kind of lose that. I mean, even in the UK, 20 years ago, you'd go 3 or 4 venues in one night because you weren't paying extortionate prices to get in, and you'd find the best vibe that suited your night, and you'd kind of go, well, it's decent here, we should stay here, or should we, you want to try somewhere else. You're not spending 40 quid to get in,
Mm.
It's kind of done away with that kind of spontaneity, hasn't it? So.
Yeah, a little bit, I think, a little bit. But then again, you got to play at, what was it? There was an event that you played at a roadside, and that you managed to, saw a lot of people. Was it a marathon or something?
Yeah, so we've played, we've set up a sound system twice now at the Manchester Marathon. So the Manchester Marathon goes from the city centre out to Trafford, and then kind of loops back. So it comes under a motorway or an underpass twice. So it goes out at 10 miles and back at 21 miles. And because it's under a motorway bridge, the acoustics are quite good, and it keeps us dry. And it's also great because there's kind of no houses around. So we hired a PA company to build us a stage and do us a video wall, and they brought a 4 kilowatt sound system, which was so loud we had to flare out the speakers because the reverb off the far wall was just, you couldn't even mix, it was that bad. But because there's no residential around, we can have it super, super loud. It's amazing. So we've done that for the last couple of years, last couple of marathons, and we've won. I say we as Underground Collective, we've won Best Entertainment twice on the route, which is great. I mean, it's great. It's free advertising. 40,000 people running past your brand, and the feedback you get from it's brilliant. So we do it because it's fun. I mean, you won't look at me now, but I've ran a few marathons, so I understand what it's like when you get to mile 21 and you're thinking, oh, I've got 5 miles to go yet. Yeah, it's horrible. So it's such a pick me up to hear kind of really loud techno music.
Yeah. It's energetic, It really replenishes the batteries. So that's something that we need to look forward to in the future as well for you guys. Are you going to do that again?
Yeah, we're looking for it. So we were lucky enough that the marathon, kind of the first time we did it, the marathon they loved it so much that they said, look, we'll co-fund. If you guys want to spend some money on a setup, we'll co-fund it. So they co-funded it last time, and I've been speaking to them again since, because it was only the beginning of April we did it again, and now we're talking about a sponsor. We can get 10 grand on the sponsorship, then we could spend that really well under there. Yeah. So that's the kind of plan for next year. Is the Red Bull Underground Collective Rave Cave, something like that. Have a massive rig and loads of video walls.
Yeah, well, if I can, I'll drop by next year.
Yeah,
for sure. Would be great to see that happen. In the next couple of weeks, what are you guys planning? I mean, the collective and SHUMBO JEBANG, of course. Any gigs that we should know of?
Yeah, well, we're talking to a couple of venues. I've got a night with Dean. He's still in the up our sleeves because he unfortunately contracted COVID before we played. So that's still on the books. Potentially looking at venues on the south coast with a couple of the guys from the Underground Collective. We've got ADE, that's still in the calendar, and I know it's 6 months away yet, but the amount of planning that goes into doing something abroad, so we're starting to think about headliners for that and branding and marketing for that, so that's kind of on the horizon. And I'm really looking forward to that because I've not been over since 2019, last time I came over. So that should be good, and it's be great to meet a load of guys. So, because like you guys are based in mainland Europe, it'd be great to meet some more of the collective in person and actually have a beer and not do things. Yeah, that
would be great. I think this January I'll be 3 years with the collective.
Yeah.
Early 2020 I started, I think.
Yeah.
Even then we said, let's have a beer sometime.
Yeah,
and
exactly,
then COVID struck and bye-bye that plan.
Yeah.
But for sure, if ADE goes ahead, and I think it will, I really think it will, we're going to have a blast over there. And no promises, of course, but perhaps that we can do something here in Belgium at the end of the weekend as well, and perhaps have you guys over and see what's possible. But,
yeah, cool.
Gonna work something out. Brother's gonna work it out, right? Okay, Sean, SHUMBO JEBANG and Underground Collective, thank you so much for being here in Back to the Clubs, and see you soon, mate.
Thanks, guys.
Nice guy Sean is, and I'm so happy and proud to be a part of Underground Collective. Don't forget to subscribe to Back to the Clubs in your podcast app and find me as @officialMajorK on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. Also, and even more important, go buy some dance music merchandise at flashinghotshop.com and support Ukraine. With merch from, for instance, Insulate, Jana Vitiligo, Flash Forward Presents and Underground Collective. Once more, next week's guest is still under wraps, but I'm sure it's gonna be another banger. So see you next time and enjoy the sunshine. Bye bye.
Back to the Clubs with Major K.